The offense we've been looking for all year from the Atlanta Braves finally showed up in Boston this past weekend. I'll talk about Matt Olson's big weekend for the Atlanta Braves who get a series win over the Red Sox. We'll also touch on the bullpen that let one get away on Saturday. Who do you trust coming out of that pen right now? We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at Locked On_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and leave me a comment down below. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can help out by leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. And what a day it is on a Monday to kick off your week. The Atlanta Braves get a huge series win in Boston, a very rare series road win for the Atlanta Braves this season. We'll talk about the offensive exploits in that series, the struggles with the bullpen, but the starting pitching remaining very strong for the Atlanta Braves. We'll get into all of that, and we'll focus in on the bullpen too. And who do you actually trust coming out of that bullpen? Is there anybody else that could step up and replace those guys out there? We'll get into all of that on today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So the Atlanta Braves do get a series win in Boston with a 10-4 win on Saturday. Could have been a sweep, maybe should have been a sweep, but as it is, it's a road series win, which the Atlanta Braves don't have many of those this year. They get back above 500. And you finish off a run of 17 straight games. You go 10-7 over that stretch. And looking back at it now, it started with a series loss at home to the Dodgers, but some competitive games in there, especially those last two. And you do get the win in the finale of that series, which felt huge. You lost 2 games during that stretch, partly because your bullpen was taxed. You had a lot of one-run games in this stretch, a lot of tight games. So you're having to go to your top relievers, Dylan Lee, Days Bell, Raisel Iglesias, Pierce Johnson. You're having to use them a lot in this stretch. And there's 2 definite games in this one that you lost because you had to go to Aaron Bummer, Enyo De Los Santos, Rafael Montero. And that's frustrating. And there's also the series in Pittsburgh where you lose that series to a very bad Pirates team, a couple of one-run losses because the offense just couldn't do much of anything. And it's not like they faced Paul Skeens in that series. So again, some ups, some downs throughout. Like I said, a 10-7 record through that stretch, but you certainly feel like it could have been a little bit better. 2 or 3 games in there that really got away from you. You win those 3 games. You win one of those games in Pittsburgh. You win that series. You don't blow those 2 games that you had against one against the Nationals and one against the Red Sox, and suddenly you're looking at a 13-4 stretch over those 17 games, and that feels much, much better. But still, 10-7, not bad either, as the Atlanta Braves get to and above 500. And this was the point that I told you, and really through these next 3 games against the Nationals, where I said, I feel like the Braves, if they can survive early on in March and April, get to this middle stretch in May, they got a chance to get back over 500. And they've already done that with 3 games left against the Nationals, but they are on the road where the Braves have struggled for most of this season. But the offense really turned that around this past weekend. It was a great weekend for the offense, and it finally started to look like the offense that we all know that they can be. On Friday night against Garrett Crochet, who I think is one of the best pitchers in baseball, certainly one of the more dominant pitchers, they scored 4 runs on 7 hits, 5 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Now, they get the 2 solo home runs from Crochet. Didn't really get much else against him, but were able to add on late with some patience in the 9th inning to get some key add-on runs. So, again, considering the starter in that game, I thought that was a good job by the Braves offense. And then on Saturday, 6 runs, 13 hits, 5 walks, 8 strikeouts. Another great performance. Again, the only thing you can say about that performance is that they did all the work early and then didn't add on, and it ultimately ended up costing them. But still, that's on the bullpen for me. They did enough, 6 runs, 13 hits in that game to win it. And then on Sunday, maybe the best offensive performance of the year. Only other time they've scored double-digit runs this year was their home opener against the Marlins. A little bit better opponent here. Brayan Bello, he hasn't gone deep into games, but for the most part, he's been pretty good. And the Braves were just all over him in this one. And this is the first time in a long while where I always talk about this over on the postcast, but what I'm looking for in this offense is, are you continually putting pressure on every inning? And over the last, couple of weeks, we've seen the offense have some good stretches. Like the game on Saturday, they score a bunch of runs early and then they disappear late. That was not the case on Sunday. It was a relentless pressure by this side. They might not have scored in every inning, but it felt like every inning they were applying pressure and had a chance to score. And then they were able to tack on throughout the game. So I think this, for me, on Sunday probably was the best offensive performance we've seen all year. And then you look at the weekend series as a total. And again, this includes a game that was started by Garrett Crochet. The Braves scored 20 runs in the 3-game set, 36 hits, 17 walks. They struck out 24 times. Not terrible. They didn't have a game where they struck out more than 9 times, and they kept it 7, 8, 9. I always say I like to see fewer than 8 or 8 or fewer. So I thought it was a pretty good job there, not striking out a ton, but 36 hits and 17 walks in a 3-game series in Boston. That's a really impressive job by the offense. And you saw 2 of the Braves' better hitters get going, in Riley and Olson. Now, Riley went over 4 on Friday with a strikeout. Again, tough opponent. But then he reaches 3 times on Saturday with a hit and 3 walks. He gets 3 hits on Sunday, scores a couple of runs. But really, Matt Olson had multiple hits in every game this weekend, had that home run off Garrett Crochet on Friday night, homered again on Saturday in a 3-hit effort, and then on Sunday, 2 for 3 with 2 doubles, a run batted in, and a walk. Matt Olson, who, again, he can be a streaky hitter, and we knew he was going through a bit of a slump, but when you square up, Garrett Crochet like that, and you're able to get that home run, certainly probably brought some confidence back to him, and you saw it play out the rest of the weekend. He did just miss another home run on Sunday, landed right on top of the Green Monster. We all know that Matt Olson leads the league in near misses for home runs, but good to see him back swinging a good bat. You get those 2 going. Ozuna continues his patient approach at the plate, but he also homered in back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. So we've talked about it a lot. It's great to see what Eli White, Nick Allen, and Verdugo and all those guys have done at the bottom. Drake Baldwin coming along, but this offense and its ultimate success long-term this season is going to be dependent on Riley, Olson, and Ozuna. So great to see them all kind of working together over the weekend. I mentioned Drake Baldwin. He started on Saturday and Sunday, picked up 3 hits in those games, had the home run on Saturday. He might just be the primary catcher at this point, unless you're facing a lefty. I think it might just become a situation where you look at the matchups. I believe in the pitching matchups in the next series, they'll face Mackenzie Gore in the finale on Thursday, who's a tough lefty. And with the off day on Monday, are we going to see Sean Murphy not get a start for nearly a week? But with the way Drake Baldwin's swinging the bat, you kind of have to. And again, this is no slight at Sean Murphy, who's been really good. He homered off Crochet in that game on Friday. So no slight against Sean Murphy. It's just Drake Baldwin's giving you good at bats, and he's on fire right now. We could see him start the first 2 games in this series in Washington. But we'll see how that plays out and how Snitker decides to deploy it. And then Eli White, 5 hits in the final 2 games, and he got robbed of another hit on Saturday. And we saw him on Sunday in particular, just stroking the baseball the other way, which was good to see, kind of that all fields approach. He had hit a little bit of a spell there, but he seems to be back on track. So good to see for Eli White. And Albies and Michael Harris, really the only, I don't even want to say disappointments, but just guys that didn't stand out on the weekend. Albies did have 4 hits in the series. Michael Harris, the only player on Sunday not to have a hit, but he did walk twice. And if that level of patience continues for Michael Harris, we could see a better version of him ultimately once the hits start to come around. But right now, Michael Harris, he's down to a 222 batting average and a 597 OPS. Albies is down to a 225 batting average and a 616 OPS. So I just mentioned everybody else in the offense really has kind of gotten going. Their numbers looking pretty good at the moment. You get those 2 going. And, oh, by the way, Ronald Acuna Jr. could be back at some point this week. And this offense is going to get back to being the best in baseball. And I really do believe that. And I said this on the postcast, but I want to say it here for those who maybe don't listen to that. I think Acuna needs to replace Alex Verdugo. I think Eli White still needs to be an everyday outfielder. They could do a platoon situation, which means that Eli White's going to be on the short side of a platoon. It would make your bench a lot better. And you can find other ways to get Eli White in the lineup. You can give him a day at second base. Give him a day in center field too. Get Michael Harris a day off here or there. There's other ways you can work Eli White in there, but you're just talking about best lineup. I think Eli White needs to be in there over Verdugo. Again, even in his cold stretch, he was still getting about a hit a game. It just wasn't the multi-hit games that we were seeing for him when he was really hot. And like I said, the final 2 games of the weekend in Boston, he had 5 hits, and he gives you that speed element, and he's a better defender. So I think the optimal outfield for me, regardless of handedness on the mound, is Eli White, Michael Harris, and Ronald Acuna Jr. But again, we'll see how that all plays out whenever Acuna returns. We'll talk more about that later. But next, I want to get into the pitching side of things, and I really want to focus on the bullpen that let another game get away from them on Saturday, partly because some of your top arms were down. But who are your top arms? Who do you trust? And who's next up on the guy? If you want to get rid of somebody in the bullpen, who could the Braves call upon? We'll get into all of that here next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shell variety. Keep some with me here as always for when I need them on the go, taking the kids to baseball, school, whatever the case may be. It's so easy just to pick up a bag on the go. Doesn't make a huge mess. However, if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. Again, whether you're running between meetings, dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. So get cracking and get snacking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. The Braves have an off day on Monday, so we'll do a live podcast Monday night reviewing everything that happened last week down on the farm. And I'm also going to give you a little preview for the upcoming MLB draft as the college baseball season gets ready to enter its postseason. So look for that on Monday night, and then we'll have 3 more episodes after that. This coming up this week on Locked On Braves. But after that, make sure you check out the guys over at Locked On MLB who get you caught up on everything happening around Major League Baseball. I want to get into the pitching side of things, and then I really want to focus on the bullpen. We'll start with the starters, and then the final segment, we're really going to dive into the bullpen and who do you trust, and also talk about some news for the Atlanta Braves. Chris Sale on Friday night, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts, allowed 1 home run, coming back out for the 7th inning after a long top half of the 7th inning, kind of left a slider up that just got over the green monster. Really the only mistake that he made all night. Threw 99 pitches. This was easily his best performance of the year for me. Maybe not his most dominant, but I thought this was his best performance that we've seen. The fastball velocity was up 2 miles per hour. He pitched in that game like he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, obviously facing his former team who kind of just gave up on him. No disrespect to Vaughn Grissom, who I love as a person. But the Red Sox were ready to move on from Chris Sale and just thought he was completely done. You know, he goes and shows them he's not by winning the Cy Young last year. And then he showed them he was not again on Friday night, but just absolutely dominating them and out-dueling Garrett Crochet, who was good himself outside of the 2 home runs that he allowed. This honestly might be my favorite game of the year. It had that playoff atmosphere on Friday night, again, with the pitching matchup, Chris Sale, Garrett Crochet, 2 really good lefties. The way that the ball game had gone, Braves up, 2-0 for a while, and the Red Sox get the home run, make it 2-1. And it was just really had that kind of feel to it. So I think that's probably my favorite game of the year to this point. As for Chris Sale, again in that one, 15 whiffs. Again, not a crazy dominant number. We've seen him have over 20 whiffs in a game before, 12 of them on the slider, which he was able to backdoor and back foot to righties in this one pretty consistently, 33% CSW percentage. So great start. Like I said, probably not the most, or I know it's not the most dominating start from Chris Sale, but just factoring in the circumstances, facing his old team, having that playoff type feel, I thought he was brilliant in this one and his best performance of the year. Grant Holmes on Saturday, 6 innings, just 3 hits. He did walk 4, still walking too many batters, but just 2 earned runs allowed, 5 strikeouts, a home run, 99 pitches. He gave up 7 hard hit balls, but just 3 of them with good launch angles, and only 1 of them went for a hit, which was the home run that he gave up. Threw the cutter more than the curveball in this one. 13 whiffs, 18 called strikes. I didn't think he had his best stuff in this game, which says a lot about Grant Holmes. When you're facing a really good lineup like the Red Sox, you maybe don't have your best stuff, and he's still able to get through the lineup a third time and, keep them to just 2 runs. So I was very impressed with what we saw from Grant Holmes on Saturday. And then on Sunday, Spencer Schwellenbach, 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 4 earned runs, all coming on 1 swing from Rafael Devers. Just 3 strikeouts, but 81 pitches. And this start, it was really just the 3rd inning where he gave up the grand slam to Rafael Devers. Outside of that, I thought this was the best version of Schwellenbach. He was getting weak contact, being efficient, able to go deep into the games, working ahead. I thought that was the best version of Schwellenbach. 88.5 miles per hour, average exit velocity against, again, getting a lot of weak contact, just 5 whiffs, but 19 called strikes. They were being very aggressive against him. I think it's just to the point now where every team knows how aggressive Spencer Schwellenbach is in the zone and how he throws a lot of strikes. And as a result, you're seeing teams be super aggressive against him early in counts. And you're having a lot of quick at bats and balls in play. And that's great when you're getting that weak contact and you're getting those outs and those balls are going to fielders, as it did for most of the day on Sunday. And that is when I think Spencer Schwellenbach is at his best. I said the same about Max Fried for years. Max Fried is at his best when he's having quick at bats, he's getting contact, getting weak contact, and getting those outs. And that's the type of pitcher Spencer Schwellenbach is when he's on his game. He's not somebody that's going to go out. He can do it. He could rack up 7, 8, 9 strikeouts a game, but he doesn't have to have that to be his best version. In fact, I think his best version is somebody that maybe more than 3 strikeouts would be nice, but somebody that might strike out 5 or 6 a game through 6 or 7 innings, but he's somebody that's going to be able to go deep in the game because he's going to have quick at bats. He's going to get weak contact, and that's what you saw from him. As for that 3rd inning, hung a curveball to the shortstop, David Hamilton, and then the one that really frustrates me in that one, there's 2 things that frustrated me in that inning. One, it's an 0-2 pitch to Rafaela, and the one complaint that you do have about Schwellenbach is when he is ahead like that, he's throwing too good of pitches, and after getting 2 strikes on pitches that were out of the zone away, he leaves the pitch middle, bottom of the zone, and Rafael's over to pull it into left field for a hit. I'm sure that's where he didn't want it, but again, it just speaks to the fact that Schwellenbach can be around the zone too much. You want that nowhere near the strike zone on an 0-2 pitch. And then the bat against Duran, 1-1 pitch. The ball is all in the electronic strike zone on the TV screen, and the umpire calls it a ball. And so instead of a 1-2 count, it goes to a 2-1 count. You got to flush that and make good pitches afterwards, but he doesn't, and he walks around, and you bring up the last guy on earth you want to see right now in Rafael Devers, and he grooves 98 down the middle to him. Outside of that, he was fantastic, and a great job by him settling down after that and giving the Braves some length, and good job by the offense to immediately respond to that and tie the game and then take the lead the following inning. But a great job by Schwellenbach, not letting that get to him, giving the Braves length. I think he could have gone the distance in this one with the score and the situation in the game, but just 81 pitches to get through 7 innings. I thought it was a great outing by Spencer Schwellenbach. And I believe they said on the broadcast it's 7 straight games now of Brave starters giving you at least 6 innings. All of them gave at least 6 innings. Sale and Schwellenbach going 7 innings over the weekend. The starting pitching has been fantastic for the Braves lately. And now you're getting Spencer Strider back. You got Bryce Elder, who will be waiting in the wings at AAA if needed. The defense was good for the most part. Nick Allen is just every game he's making a play. This time on Sunday, it was a ball that got away at second base, runner stealing, and the ball gets away from Ozzie, kind of up the line a little bit, was from on the throw from Drake Baldwin, and Nick Allen from his shortstop position goes into shallow right field to back up that throw and nails the runner at third base. It's just every game it's something that Nick Allen does. Eli White had a couple of good running catches in right field. The only bad thing that I can remember defensively over the weekend is Alex Verdugo making a terrible decision to throw a ball home that had no business going home. It needed to go to second to keep Rafael Devers at first base, and that might have led to an extra run scoring for the Red Sox that inning, assuming things play out the same way that they did. So defense is great. Starting pitching is great. Offense came around over the weekend. If that continues and we see that full version of the Braves offense that can both be patient and get the home runs, which haven't been there for them, then we're seeing the best version of this offense. The only real question now is, who do you trust coming out of that Braves bullpen? They blew another lead on Saturday, the second time in the past week that they've let one get away because you had to use the bottom guys in your bullpen. So we'll talk about this bullpen and who do you trust next. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And if you moved on to the Major League Baseball season, they have all the odds over there that you would want to see. World Series odds, division winners odds, end of season award odds, which right now you go look at the NL Rookie of the Year odds. You'll see AJ Smith-Shawver and Drake Baldwin up there at the top. So you want to see all that, you can go over to FanDuel.com. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way that you play. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. So in what was otherwise a great weekend in Boston for the Atlanta Braves, the only black eye is the bullpen. And it's not even necessarily the better part of your bullpen. It's the bottom of your bullpen. And it happened twice in 1 week where Brian Snitker in a 17-game stretch is trying to preserve his top arms, and it cost him a game. It happened on Wednesday against the Nationals, and then it happened again on Saturday against the Red Sox. And it's frustrating. And you go back and look at this series on Friday. I do want to talk about some good. On Friday night in a close game, like I said, playoff type atmosphere, the inning from Daysbel Hernandez, I thought was huge. You're looking to see, can he handle that moment? And I believe it was a leadoff walk that he gave up to the bottom of the lineup, but then he's able to get through Jarren Duran and Rafael Devers in a one-run game in the 8th inning. That had me pumped up. To see Daysbel be able to come through in that moment in a tight game, and probably the only game this year that I can remember that was just truly playoff type atmosphere, I thought that was a big moment and said a lot about Daysbel. It was a long outing, and it probably cost him being able to help the Braves secure the win on Saturday, but I thought that was big for him and his confidence going forward. Iggy got the save on Friday, but he looked more like the Iggy from earlier in the season. Everything was up. He did allow a run, but fortunately the Braves got those add-on runs in the top of the 9th inning. And then Saturday, again, you're in a long stretch of games, close games, and Snitker's trying to preserve his best bullpen arms. You go through the 7th inning, it's a 6-2 lead. You call on Aaron Bummer, and for the second straight time, he struggles and allows a pair of runs. And once again, Snit goes to Enyel De Los Santos to have him get out of a jam that Aaron Bummer creates. And he does, but last time where he brought De Los Santos back out after getting out of a jam and De Los Santos blew it, this time, once it becomes a tight game, he goes to Rafael Montero in the 8th inning of a 2-run game. And Montero gets absolutely destroyed. First 3 batters against him, it's 102, 103, and 109 mile per hour exit velocities. He does get Rafael at a strikeout, which gives you 2 outs. There's runners on second and third, tying run at second base. And at that point, Snit does go to Pierce Johnson, who then gives up the game-tying hit to Jarren Duran. And it's just frustrating. It's very frustrating to see your team lose games like that. You know, when you've got the 0-7 hole you're trying to dig out of, and you really need to go on a big run, it's hard to see your team just give away games like that. And it happens twice in 1 week, right? I mean, it's almost the exact same thing that happens twice in 1 week where you're trying to preserve your best arms. You're hoping that your sixth, seventh, and eighth guys in the bullpen can hold on to a 4-run lead, and they can't. And part of that is Snitker's fault, and just, not knowing what tomorrow may bring and using your best guys now to not let a game get away from you. Part of that is those guys have to be trusted to hold on to 4-run leads every now and then. I think maybe it was a 3-run lead in the game against Washington on Wednesday, 4-run lead in the game against the Red Sox on Saturday. And part of that is the front office not doing enough in the offseason to give Snitker better options. So, again, I understand the full aspect of this. It's just from a fan perspective, it's frustrating. You're still trying to dig out of a hole, get on a big run, and you let 2 games in 1 week slip away because you can't trust your 6th, 7th, and 8th guys in the bullpen. But going to Rafael Montero, I cannot understand that one. Give Blewett a chance at that point, or, push Daysbell. I know he worked a lot on Friday, but maybe push him this time to make sure you secure that win and that series win, not knowing what's going to happen on Sunday, and also knowing you have the off day on Monday. I thought maybe you could have pushed Daysbell. We know now after the game, Mark Bowman reporting that both Iggy, Daysbell, and Dylan Lee were all unavailable. It's going to be really hard for you to hang on to a tight lead when your 3 best relievers are all down. And that's what happened on Saturday. And look, I get it. Aaron Bummer, you bring him in the 7th. I'm fine with that in a 4-run lead. But once it becomes, and I said the same thing on Wednesday when they came in and it became a 1-run game. Once it became a 1-run game on Wednesday, once it became a 2-run game on Saturday, you can no longer go to Rafael Montero. At that point, you do what it takes to hold on and secure the win. You don't know how many times you're going to have an opportunity to win a game. And twice this week, Snitker wasn't able to do that, and it cost him dearly. Just quickly in the game on Sunday, he did go to Dylan Lee in a 10-4 game. I think that's mainly because it was a little bit closer game, and Dylan Lee was already up, and then the Braves scored 3 more runs, made a 10-4 game from a 7-4 game. So you already had Dylan Lee hot, and you had the top of their order coming up. So just making sure, you don't give the Red Sox a chance to get back in the game. And then Scott Blewett did come in to close it out. But right now, you look at the bullpen. Who do you trust? For me, I trust Daysbell. I trust Dylan Lee. I do still trust Iglesias, and I trust Pierce Johnson. I think those are the 4 guys right now that I trust the most, and certainly some different levels. Daysbell and Lee, I trust more than anybody right now. Iggy and Iglesias, I trust, but with some hesitation. And then Enyel De Los Santos, I think is kind of in that middle area for me. I trust him if I have to. If somebody's down and we need somebody to get through the 6th, 7th inning, I trust De Los Santos. Bummer, I'm losing a lot of trust in. I always point to his expected stats, which are always great, but at some point, a spade is a spade. And the guy just, for whatever reason, he has terrible luck when he's on the mound. And I just can't trust that. And then there's Scott Blewett, who's been really good with the Braves, a 3.68 ERA, 0.82 whip, 143 batting average against small sample size. But he's been really good, and Montero's got to go. So, again, there's 4 guys that I trust, Daysbell and Lee, that I trust the most. Iggy and Pierce Johnson, I'm kind of on the fence with trusting, and De Los Santos, again, kind of in that middle area. But Bummer, Blewett, Montero, Blewett till we actually see him in some high leverage situations, which those extra inning games were pretty high leverage. But if it's not those guys, who's next? Who are you replacing them with right now until you can make a trade? Craig Kimbrell should replace Montero this week, I would think, if they make the right move. Domingo Gonzalez, a 3.50 ERA, a 1.17 whip, 194 average against at AAA this year. Walk per nine's a little high, but he is on the 40-man roster. Austin Cox is on the 40-man roster, but he hasn't been very good so far. Ed Gwinnett. Dylan Dodd was called up this past weekend, but we never saw him. Michael Peterson has an 11.37 K per 9, but a 1.74 whip because he's giving up batters are hitting 321 against him. It's the oddest line in the world. It's a 2.84 ERA, but a 1.74 whip because of a 321 batting average against. But it's a 11.37 K per 9 and a 2.84 walk per 9, which is great. It's really just he's giving up way too many hits, but the strikeout numbers are good and the walk rate is really low for Michael Peterson. I would have said Hurston Waldrop not too long ago, but he's had back-to-back really solid outings now, so I think he got a allow that to play out and see if maybe he's figured something out there. And Carlos Lara, he just needs more time. It's mixed results so far as a reliever for Gwinnett, but there is potential there. And then there's Jesse Chavez, always old reliable, but those are your options to back up your bullpen arms. Like I said, I'm not expecting a ton from Craig Kimbrell, but I probably have a little bit more trust in him right now than I do Montero and everybody else in AAA right now. I don't know that I trust them any more than the guys they already have up at the big league level. So there's really not anything waiting in the wings to help out your bullpen either. But let me know down in the comment section below, who do you trust the most? Quickly on some news, Acuna's rehab. He played at the DH spot on Saturday after back-to-back games in right field. He went 1 for 1 on Saturday with 4 walks and a home run on a pitch down that he laced out to dead center. And that gave me some good feelings, because if Ronald is able to get down to that pitch and hit it out to dead center, I'm feeling pretty good about those knees. He rested on Sunday. He'll obviously rest on Monday with the off day. There's a chance we see him in Washington. I doubt it. It's more likely that we see him on Friday back at home, which would be a lot of fun. But either way, it's looking like we could see Acuna at some point this week. The Braves claimed Kevin Hergert off waivers from the Mets and optioned him to Gwinnett. Right-handed reliever who can give you multiple innings, a 2.87 ERA and 15 2/3 innings this year, 13 strikeouts at AAA, has a 4.63 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP and 44 2/3 big leagues innings. Just some depth, like I said, as a reliever that can give you some length. Dodd was sent down after the game on Sunday. He'll most likely be replaced on the roster by Strider, who is expected to start on Tuesday in Washington. We'll preview that game and that series more on Monday's podcast, which again will be a live episode on Monday night, talking about our minors, weekly minor spotlight, talking about the upcoming MLB draft, and previewing that Washington series where we could see Strider, maybe Acuna. Hopefully we'll have some more information on that by the time we record on Monday night. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves on YouTube. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your Locked On Braves podcast, and we will talk to you next time.